You see, usually when revolutions happen, they happen for the sake of getting progress. Progress. I mean, why don't you look back in revolutionary history and read about, with the exception of the communist revolutions. I mean, the communist revolutions were ridiculous. But every other revolutions wanted progress. Okay? And I just got a PM or a private message, and why are the communist revolutions bad? Well, I hate to go into this, but let's go into it so that people understand why communism is such a pathetic waste of social order. It's a pathetic political ideology. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about Russia, okay? In Russia, when the czars allowed, foreign investment to come into Russia to try to modernize Russia at the time, because, let's be honest, when they went into World War I, they were completely outgunned and outmanned. While everybody in World War I was wearing gas masks and throwing mustard gas and machine guns and tanks and artillery, you had the Tsar throwing in his cavalry, believe it or not, with damn horseback soldiers going into World War I against tanks. It was ridiculous. He knew he made a bad mistake. So what did he do? He allowed foreign investment to help, make his country more modern, to bring in economic growth into his country. So that's exactly what happened. Tsar Nicholas allowed, foreign investment to come in. They built the infrastructure for Russia. They built the railroads, the private investors. They built the factories so that they could start manufacturing in assembly line fashion. I mean, as a matter of fact, if you look at Tsar Nicholas's last remaining years in power, they were on the verge to productivity. They were on the verge to productivity, but you know what happened? Let me tell you what happened, okay? Once the peasants, the children of the peasants moved out from, the pieces of land that they plowed, to maintain their sustenance and moved into the cities for work, they started working in these factories, that were assembly lines. Assembly line has always been a big deal. It's still a big deal. Textiles, certain industrial factories, that sort of thing, So anyway, these people started working in these factories, and believe it or not, they started making Moscow and other cities that had, plants and other forms of business investment. They actually made these areas kind of a pseudo-cosmopolitan area. And as people were working and getting off work and kind of, commiserating with each other in the streets, they started saying, "Oh, comrade, I don't like working. I don't like working the assembly line job. It's not fair. I got to work an assembly line job." Yeah, they started bitching and moaning that they were working too much and too hard, and it's not fair, and I'm not getting enough, and this is not right, and foreign investors are making money off my sweat, and they had all this disgusting, despicable thing, even though the foreign investors that went into Russia to rebuild it, built the railroads, they built the manufacturing systems, they mined all the natural resources, they did everything, every single thing to make Russia. The people, what did they do? They pissed and moaned. They pissed and moaned. And who did they blame? They blamed the Tsar. And as a result, you had the revolution that took out a pretty long reigning monarch in the Tsar dynasty. They literally took them out, and at the time of the transition from the Tsar dynasty to whatever the hell was going to be a transition, they were going to try a democratic government. The Bolshevik Revolution came in, which was a very small minority at the time, came in, cleaned house, convinced the people that, oh, how dare the foreign investors come in? How dare they take control of our factories? How dare they go out and build and take over our railroads? How dare they do this? We should do it for the people. The people is what we should do it for. We should do it for the people. and he convinced all these idiot Russian assholes to literally worship this secular atheist perspective of communism, and henceforth, that's why you have communism in Russia. Because we, as investors, as capitalists, built the freaking infrastructure out there at the turn of the 20th century for these morons, and then these collectivists, they want to come in, they want to take control of all the infrastructure that we built, that us capitalists built, and they want to take it over, and they want to claim that, oh, look at us the Russians, we were able to collectivize and still be modern. You were able to be modern because we built your infrastructure, you piece of Russian vodka-drinking, cockeyed crap. And the same thing goes for China. The same exact story happened in China. Same thing happened in China, man. Chiang Kai-shek, when he finally was able to take control of the country after, years of, just imperialistic rule, Chiang Kai-shek, which was the leader of the Chinese nationalists at the time, was able to take control, and, once he got control of the country after, let's face it, all the imperialistic powers raped China. This was post-Opium Wars, of course. All right. Let's remember that Chiang Kai-shek was left with a bunch of peasants, man. I mean, the Chinese people didn't know what the hell to do. They didn't know what the hell. It was just a pure peasant society, a peasant, 500 million people peasant society, for heaven's sake. So what did Chiang Kai-shek do? He allowed foreign investors to come in. Because he can't just erect all these things by himself. He needs foreign investment. So the foreign investors come in, and what do they do for the Chinese? They went in. They built the railroads. They built the manufacturing bases. They mined the natural resources. They did all the things while Chiang Kai-shek was in power. Then the Chinese people, just as much as the damn Russian people, got together and say, oh, it's not fair that these motherfuckers are going to sit here and take all our money. It's not fair. It's not a fair thing. I don't like it. So they got together and, sipped on their bottle of sake or whatever the hell they did, and they went out and they decided, oh, we're going to do a communist revolution against the motherfucker that out there taking the money. And what happened? Well, there's a whole bunch of historical things that happened. World War II, then you had the rise of dumbass Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong, basically was a small peasant-based revolution, but because Chiang Kai-shek was having discontent amongst the people working in the factories because they didn't want to work, all right, and because he had, the communist upheaval happening in his domestic land, Japan decided to come in, all right? Japan decided to come in and basically take control, or try to take control, of the natural resources of China. So, anyway, long story short, the communist revolution takes over the entire country of China. And why is China going to, how can I put it? How come it has continuous growth ever since the communists took over? How come the Russians had continuous growth ever since the Bolsheviks took over? A lot of these stupid communist, so-called intellectuals are going to credit the collectivization of society as the reasoning for growth. Now, the reason I'm doing this big diatribe is because it wasn't collectivization. It was the fact that foreign investors, like capitalists like myself, were the ones that invested in these damn pissing grounds and built the railroads, built the factories, built everything. All right, we were the ones that did it. Damn it, us capitalists. And what did these communists do? They pissed and moaned because they had to go to work. They didn't like the factory work. They didn't like their jobs. They didn't like this. They didn't like that. And lo and behold, they heard communism, and they heard that they didn't have to work anymore. All they had to do was follow in line with the secularist, atheistic political religion. And before you know it, you've got this ridiculous nonsense this communist revolution happening, and lo and behold, the communists take over the infrastructure already built by foreign investors and claim that communism is the best form of social order. It's ridiculous. It's sick. Anyway, I didn't mean to go on that diatribe, folks, but, I mean, let's be honest here, all right? Let's be honest. That's all I'm saying. Let's be honest. I'm sick and tired of, idiot communists coming in here and emailing me up, mind you. I have communists that email me up saying, oh, you greasy capitalist, you slimy bastard. Like I'm some asshole with a pinstripe suit, slicked back hair, flipping a nickel. Like I'm some sort of shyster of some sort. It's ridiculous.